All right. There's one open statement.
Go ahead.
Okay, day one's in the books. Year two. Not a lot to report really, other than, you know, it was cleaner than last year's day one, which you would expect because it was all new last year, right? And we got a lot of improvement to make, but we don't need to be where we need to be right now. We need to be where we need to be when we run out of time for the opener. So, like the organization, didn't see too many horrific plays out there with the ball on the ground or things like that, penalties. Of course, we don't have officials at practice. That would probably help, you know, because there probably was some holding on both sides of the ball out there. But the key to the drill is we got to get better every day, develop consistency and performance day in, day out, play in, play out, practice to a high standard, and that's how you improve. And we'll keep throwing more at them every single day. The first day, it's a certain part of the menu, and we've got 13 practices and 10 days of install, and we'll get most of it in, and then we'll probably slide a few tweaks in once we figure out who can do what. And we're going to get 3 in before spring break, come back, get about a 4-day break, get rehydrated, and do number 4 the following Thursday. So that's where we're at. Questions?
Ms. and Zach?
Yeah, Curt, when you talked briefly about adding Chandler to the staff, he's your first new quarterbacks coach since 21, since Tino. What's the process like with building rapport with him? How much work goes into kind of teaching him what you want out of the quarterbacks or your system? And how different is that when you got a post at?
Yeah, he's learning our system, what our standards, our expectations. He's been in NFL football for the last 4 years in various roles. NFL is different than college. So, you know, it's a transition for him, and this will be a good spring for him.
Zach, the mover?
I imagine as you map things out, there are some constants every year in the spring, but you talk about a lot of stuff not being new in the way it was a year ago. What does that maybe allow you to try and plan to get out of these next few weeks that maybe a year ago you said, you know, we got to walk before we can run. Now maybe you can kind of start to jog.
Yeah, well, you know, spring football. So we want to develop players, right? We want to improve daily. We want to promote competition. We want to install our offense, defense, special teams, learn about our team. And everybody's going to come out of spring football undefeated. And the most important thing is, you know, you come out healthy with, you know, your top line guys, and that you develop players and you improve and begin to form your identity and your mindset. And then you come out and evaluate if you have any needs in the spring portal where you may dabble, and get ready for the fall. So I think you learn about your team every day, and this is a new team. I believe we have 81 guys on scholarship, maybe 82, and unless I'm miscounting, 33 of the 81 are new guys. So that's it's almost 40%. I think 3 out of 8 is 37.5, right?
Absolutely.
So a little bit over 40. And so you start over. You truly do start over every year, but now with the rules the way they are, it's even more so.
Matt and Pete?
Coach, like you said, first day, so still a lot of way to go, but just your initial impressions on, excuse me, Fernando Mendoza, and just kind of how he took the things out there.
Yeah, I thought he did good. The big thing we're going to be working on him this spring is getting the ball out of his hand on rhythm. A lot of the concepts he's been exposed to, they were probably called differently. Some of the concepts will be a little bit new. So most of the guys, the first 2 weeks, you know, they're thinking and playing at the same time, and then the last 2 weeks they're playing more than they're thinking. And I suspect it'll be the same way with him. And very high on him. And you know, there's things at Cal that you know, he was under duress quite a bit at Cal. So you know, we protected the passer and the pass better, and so developing trust and confidence in the pocket, throwing the ball on rhythm, And I control those type of things. But, you know, we're out there today in our pajamas. I mean, you know, we will be the next practice too, and you don't play football that way. So, you know, today it was almost like muscle memory drill. Okay, this is where you go period 1, period 2, that kind of thing. And once we get into the banging and clanging, things will pick up.
Pete and then Todd.
Excuse me, Coach, can you kind of assess the linebacker situation? You got Aiden back, and how you see that developing?
Yeah, well, Roe Hardy played a lot of football for us last season. We went to our trio package, which was a 3 linebacker set against 12 personnel. Isaiah Jones, the first half of the season, was that first guy in. The last half of the season, it was Roe Hardy. So you got 2 guys, Hardy and Jones, that played a lot of football. And then we've got some young ones behind them that, you know, we'll see how they develop.
Todd on your left and Ravi.
Curt, similar question to Pete, only for the running backs, kind of give an assessment of, I know you mentioned some transfers with some guys that you retained, but where do you see that developing over the course of the spring?
Well, I'm not into making predictions on how they'll develop, but I can assess what we have. Hemby's got a body of work as a starting football player in the Big Ten Conference and has been a good player, both running the football and catching the football. Kaylon Black, obviously, is a veteran. Lee Beebe had a nice year last year at UAB. And Martin, the freshman, I thought showed promise last year. And Van Horst is back for his 8th year. And was actually the starting running back games 2 through about 6 or 7 my first year at JMU. Anyway, so we've got some depth there, some nice body types, and I noticed them out there a few times today, and I thought they looked good.
Ravi in front and Daniel.
When you get somebody like Aiden Fisher, who had the year he had, what are the next steps for somebody that talented, and sort of what are the important things for him to do as a leader and as a player in spring football for himself and for the other guys?
Yeah, well, you know, I think those kind of guys, you know, they've been leading all along. And that part of it is a little bit of a continuum. Success is not a continuum, but leadership is. And so he's been leading the team throughout last fall and the off season and the winter workouts. And I think this spring, you know, number one, we want to get him off the field healthy. You know, he's been nicked up a little bit in the fall, previous falls. And, you know, he wants to get his body in as good a shape as possible. And so he's ready to play football in the fall. And so for him, it's important to get some reps and stay sharp. But probably the priority at linebacker is to develop depth there and figure out who our other guys are and keep him healthy, ready to go in the fall.
Daniel in front and Zach.
The process of trying to install when you have, I forget how many, almost 41% of a roster changed.
Mm-hmm.
How is the process of trying to install and just add the flavor you want when you have a roster that changes so much as opposed to what it probably was about 8-10 years ago?
Well, you know, the install, I think if you looked at it across the board, offense, defense, would be at least 80% of what it was last year, exactly. Probably more. And you got to remember, our guys have been lifting weights, they've been running, conditioning, but you sprinkle in position meetings there too, you know, for the last month and a half. So these guys have had meetings with their position coaches. And so I thought it was pretty clean out there today in terms of guys lining up in the right spot, running the right route. You know, it's not rocket science. Most of these concepts these guys have been exposed to in the past, they're just called something different. And so I thought it looked pretty clean.
Zach and Seth.
For the true freshmen, how much of a leg up does it give them to arrive early in the spring as opposed to the summer?
I think the big advantage there is, number one, academically, they get to go through a semester without the pressure of being in season. Being in the strength and conditioning program in the winter is huge for them in terms of their development. And, you know, spring ball for most of them will be kind of rough in terms of like if you had to give them a daily grade, which we don't need to do. But once they go through the summer conditioning program, weight program again, and then get to fall camp, they're a lot further ahead. And so if a guy shows the ability and the potential to help your football team, he's much further ahead and better off having gone through spring football.
Seth, on your right, then Mike.
Curt, with Fernando, it's not that often that you have a quarterback come in and have his younger brother be in a quarterback room with them. I mean, is that something you've had before? And I guess what's that dynamic like? You know, is that kind of bringing out extra juice and competitiveness out of them to have each other there?
No, I've never had that before. But I know the young one will push the old one as hard as he can. And he's got a good future. So, two great kids.
Mike, on your right, then Joe.
Yeah, Coach, I've often heard you say you're hunting for complacency within your program. I'm curious at this stage, coming off a good season, first spring practice, kind of what are the red flags or hallmarks of complacency that you'd be looking for?
Well, you know, the strength and conditioning coach, Derek Goings, had very positive things to say on a daily basis about what was going on downstairs and in the running program. So it looks like we passed that mark. And I thought today was a very solid day. I'll assess things as we go through the spring and see where we're at on a daily basis. And but look, this is a football team that didn't finish the season very well. Went up, played in college football playoff, and didn't play like we wanted to play. Have some things to prove, but you know that's all in the past. These are a whole bunch of new guys, new team. Every team in America is pretty much that way. Probably 90% of them. So everyone's 0-0 right now, and they will be heading into game 1 in the fall. And it's all earned, not given, between the white lines.
Joe on your far right, and then we'll wrap with Ms.
Coach, you said you learn something new about your team every day. What did you learn about them today?
I thought it was a solid day. I thought they did a nice job of handling the workload, and you know, it looked like football out there. All right, guys.
Hold on, one more, Ms.
I saw Justin Nelson out there. I think he's coaching. Looks like you might have a role for him as a staffer. How did that develop? And the relationship you guys had, he spoke really eloquently about being kind of the first guy to jump at the chance to sign here. How's that developed, and what's made you want to kind of have him on staff?
Yeah. Well, you know, I think got a text from him month and a half or so that he was going to be in town, would like to talk, and then you know, he decided that he was done with football and he wanted to coach, and so he was one of our leaders last year, and you know, Scott created the opportunity within our organization for him to help us coach as a graduate assistant or quality control coach. And so he will help Coach Miller at the running backs, and he'll do a good job.
All right, thank you.